welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the TCT podcast here on YouTube. My name is Cale Fleming. Alongside me, my two co-hosts, Tyson Snyder and Gavin Campbell. Tyson, how are we doing this afternoon?
Just fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, what's up, man?
It's a beautiful day, man. Another day.
So we got a pretty controversial topic coming up here this afternoon. Me and Gavin have already been talking about it for like about the past 15 minutes. I've
been sitting here quietly.
Going off of that, we're going to talk about the Illini at Wisconsin game on Saturday. Talk about some NFL, some Illini basketball, the NBA, which is where this conversation's been getting kind of heated. We're going to go follow up off of that with some NHL talk, and then as well as the Red Sox and Dodgers World Series. They have been set now. Game 1 is tomorrow, Tuesday the 23rd. So we're going to kick it right off today with some Illini football talk. Illinois obviously lost at Wisconsin 49-20 on Saturday. It was a heart-wrenching loss. We were playing in the snow, too. That was kind of cool. First half was hard to see across the TV. So none of our guys were prepared for that, I can tell you that right now.
Especially not in October.
I don't have that many takeaways from the game other than I expected them to lose. So, I mean, Gavin's got some stuff that I don't necessarily agree with. So let's get into it. Gavin, what do you think?
Well, I think the one thing that we do agree on, and I think it's a unanimous decision, is that we all expect them to lose this football game.
Yes.
But with that said, I want to get into the quarterback situation. And another place I think you and me agree is that MJ Rivers needs to start going forward.
Yes.
AJ Bush needs to be benched. He needs to be done, at least for the rest of the year. With that said, speaking of AJ Bush, benched in the second quarter for MJ Rivers, went 2 of 8 for 10 yards and 2 interceptions. I did have 5 carries for 47 yards, which, that's nothing new. He's been doing that all season. We know he can move out of the pocket and get downfield with his feet. But if you're going to run the football, this is the controversy that we have here, and where I differ from Cale is when we have guys like Reggie Corman, Ravon Bonner, and Mike Epstein. These are all very comparable backs, and they can get the job done, especially Reggie Corbin. Why they're not getting 20-plus carries a game is beyond me. The running game all season for the Illini has been our strong suit. Passing the ball has been abysmal to watch. It's actually physically hurt me to watch them throw the football. Those 3 guys on Saturday combined for 17 carries and had 152 yards. Why they didn't get the ball more is beyond me. Our 2 quarterbacks, MJ Rivers and AJ Bush, 13 combined carries for 41 yards. Net 41 yards. Why they're running the ball 13 times, and I know Cale's tried to preach this to me, is they're getting out of the pocket and it's collapsing because our offensive line can't hold for more than a second and a half. I understand that, but if that's the case and we don't have time to throw the football, you think your instincts would tell you to put it on the ground, run a design run play. This is just something that really bothered me after watching the game and then looking at the statistics, especially when you go back and look at earlier in the season and what we were able to do on the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But my thing is what I've been saying all year is you can't win Big Ten football games without having or being able to pass the ball. I understand that we can't pass the ball right now. I get that. But the thing is I also don't agree or disagree. I don't disagree with Ravon Bonner or Corbin touching the ball 20 times a piece in the game. I don't disagree with that either. Because obviously on that breakout run that Reggie Corbin had, which coincidentally happened when he put MJ Rivers in the game, he busted one out for 80 yards, and which did lead into a touchdown for the Illini. That being said, you cannot win a Big Ten game solely based on rushing. It just can't happen. Now, I understand we have a lack of receivers, but we also have the lack of an offensive line where our quarterbacks are forced to scramble and forced to carry the ball. That's why he wants to start Bush. I understand that is because Bush can run better than Rivers can. We can't disagree with that fact. But Rivers can pass the ball and he can make plays happen. So, I will say this. Out of all these carries that the Illinois quarterbacks had, I guarantee only a quarter of them were designed quarterback runs. No,
and that's where I'm also agreeing with you. And I'm going to hand it over to Tyson here in a second, but I'm glad that you brought up both of the quarterbacks because there's some statistics that I'd like to go over with that. AJ Bush has had 18 quarters of play in total, or almost. It's about 17 3/4 of a quarter of play. And within those this season, he has 492 passing yards, 52% completion rating, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, with just over, like a hair over, 6 yards per attempt. All right. Now, if we look at MJ Rivers, he has about 9 3/4 quarters played. We'll round it up to 10. 10 quarters played this season. He's already outplayed A.J. Bush in almost half the time.
Yes.
502 yards on 62% completion rating, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, on almost an identical yards per attempt at 5.84. Why MJ Rivers is not starting is beyond me. When I look at identical numbers, they could increase if his time was increased of play. And why Lovey chose to put him on the bench, I'm still scratching my head at. And I understand the fact that A.J. Bush is more mobile outside of the pocket. But maybe you give yourself a chance for a miracle play or a big play down the field with MJ Rivers under center.
I can tell you the other reason why he's sitting on the bench so much, too, is he's a true freshman. I mean, this is his first Big Ten action. I'm just going to leave that there. He is a true freshman, so we have to remember that, too. But, yes, he is the better quarterback of the two. Next year, Isaiah Williams coming in for 2019 is going to have a little bit of competition for quarterback, because if Rivers can play the rest of the year, he's going to look pretty tough. He's going to be hard to beat for the quarterback spot for the Illini next season.
Tell me this isn't what I said last week. Why are the quarterbacks running the ball so much? Why is Reggie Corbin not getting the ball? Reggie Corbin had 9 carries for 100 yards. If you up that man to 20 carries, that's 222 yards. And 2/9 of a yard, in case you were curious. So why these running backs aren't getting the ball more, I don't understand. And Cale, you say that we have to pass it so we can run it to kind of open up the game. But if you start the game with 12 runs, what does the other team do? They load the box. What do 9 guys in the box do? They destroy the line of scrimmage, hit people in the backfield. If you run a play action off of that, you torched 9 guys in the box. You've got 2 guys to defend against 2 receivers, 3 receivers, and it automatically opens up down the field. So after you complete a pass, which at that point you should be 1 for 1, your passing game's wide open. They have to drop all these guys out of the box, and now they're set to rushing 3 or 4 people the whole game because you ran this much. That automatically gets your backs carries up. That automatically gets the yardage where you want it, and that opens the passing game up. Now, I get you want A.J. Bush so he can run, but the fact that they're even thinking about that's what has to happen, the only thing that can help your offensive line at this point is running the ball. So I don't understand why they're still trying to force this passing game, force this with A.J. Bush so he can pass it and then run it when he needs to. If you just give the ball to your running backs, it solves all your problems. It step by step by step. It systematically breaks it down and destroys that defense if you just run the ball. Running opens the passing game. It doesn't work the other way around. Running and play action is what's going to make it allow you to pass. And then you don't need A.J. Bush, who is a subpar quarterback compared to most of them, especially MJ Rivers. So I don't know. I have a hard time arguing for putting A.J. Bush in, and I have a hard time arguing against I know you guys said the running backs need more runs, but they need it quicker. It took them all game to get those 17 combined carries. They should have 17 carries within the first quarter and a half, 2 quarters. I feel like there's a lot that can be done, and the Illini are kind of just collapsing around themselves. They're not trying to fix their problems. They're just they're using duct tape right now, and it's not working.
Yeah, if there's one thing I could add to that, it's you want to keep the defense honest, and the best way to do that is through the run game, and that sets up the play action pass, deep ball, 40 yards down the field, So, I mean, if they want to continue this for the rest of the season, they won't win another game. But if they want to mix things up, please just put MJ Rivers back there, run the ball down their throat, or at least keep them honest, and then throw the deep ball, set up the play action.
I am going to credit Wisconsin on some things. Wisconsin scored 21 points off of 5 turnovers, so they capitalized on every turnover that we had, which we know our defense is lackluster. It's not good, so we kind of figured that was going to happen. But that's pretty remarkable that they're going to score 21 off of 5 turnovers. And then another thing I had is that Illinois has lost to 22 straight ranked teams. That we have not beat a ranked team in 22 straight games. We're 0-22. That's something else. And I want to segue that real quick because we don't ever talk about the Big Ten as a whole. I want to talk about something pretty big that happened on Saturday night against Purdue and Ohio State. Nobody saw this coming. Purdue laid the hammer on Ohio State in West Lafayette on Saturday night. I have a feeling that Urban Meyer's squad walked in there thinking they were just going to steamroll Purdue, and they had another thing coming. They ended up losing, 49-20, I believe, was what Ohio State lost. So they dropped from number 2 to number 11, I believe, in the rankings. One thing I will say, Tyson knows a lot more about college football than I do, is that Ohio State did lose to Iowa last year around this time. So maybe they're kind of falling back into their old ways, but do you think this is going to change Ohio State's season?
I think it drastically changes their season. They just lost to an unranked opponent in the eighth week of college football. There's only 4 weeks left. That's not a whole lot of time to make up ground, and they still have to play Michigan.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a dogfight. And we've seen how Michigan's played so far. They lost their first game of the year to Notre Dame, and they haven't looked back since. But Ohio State losing this game, they have to win out. They have to beat number 5 ranked Michigan. They have to do a lot to get back in the conversation now. I don't think this is as bad as a loss as everyone is making it out to be. Purdue came into that game 3-3. They lost their first 3, had won 3 since. Their first 3 losses were by a combined 8 points.
Yeah.
That's a touchdown and a 2-point conversion for 3 entire games. That's not a whole lot to lose by. They struggled early, but they have looked dominant since. And they didn't even look that bad in the games they lost. Like I said, they lost by 2, 5, and 1 or something like that.
And then they beat a ranked opponent earlier in the season as well.
Yeah, and they beat a 23-ranked Boston College. They've done a lot this season, and they've looked good in all their games, and they've looked dominant in 4 of them, though.
So what does Purdue have to do to get ranked? I mean, honestly, they took down one of the best teams in the nation.
After already beating a 23-ranked opponent earlier. Yeah, I'm not sure.
They're definitely they've got to be close at this point.
They did receive 17 votes this morning to be in the top 25, but that was it.
Right, so they're like 25 votes or something. They just have to keep winning, hope someone else loses, they'll get ranked. It won't be an issue. But Purdue's look good, so I don't think this is as bad a loss as Ohio State. Everyone thinks it was for Ohio State, but Ohio State still shouldn't have lost this game. You're the two-ranked team in the country. You're the supposed best Big Ten team by a wide margin so far this year. Definitely shouldn't have lost this game.
Well, supposedly now with Michigan taking the top spot.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like Michigan's the best team in college football, or in the Big Ten. Well, not necessarily college football, but the Big Ten.
Especially
I think
after
their defense is the best in college football.
Well, we saw
there's an argument for that too, because they have let up minimal amounts of points.
We saw their performance against Michigan State over the weekend. It was close. It was close up until about midway through the third quarter, and then they turned it on and they showed you why they're better and why they're ranked higher than Michigan State in the top 25.
Number 5 now.
Yep.
So moving on, we talked a little bit of college football. We're going to move over to Tyson here in his NFL weekend. First game I want to talk about is Houston at Jacksonville. What is going on with Jacksonville? The boat was benched this weekend for Cody
Kessler.
Yep.
That's a heck of a name.
But a USC boy.
Oh God, here we go.
That's mistake number 1.
So Houston ended up winning 20-7 over Jacksonville with no Blake Bortles. What's going on with Jacksonville?
I think only God knows at this point. The defense has looked soft. I think of that Kobe gif, soft. That's all there is to say about their defense. They're straight up just playing not well right now. They're not hitting people. They're not forcing turnovers. That in turn is leading to the demise of Blake Bortles. He was already on the outs before last season, and then his defense came alive. And you can look really, really good when you get the ball on the other team's 20-yard line 3 times a game. Dominant defense is what leads to a great offense. And without a dominant defense, I will even say lackluster defense this year, with even Jalen Ramsey looking everyone is just taking advantage of Blake Bortles. He has by no means ever been a superb quarterback. He has been average to above average, gets the job done, and some. But with no help, especially on the defense, there's no way he can keep up by himself. It also doesn't help that Leonard Fournette's been out for 5 consecutive weeks now.
Yep.
Now, you say, well, they're still running with T.J. Yeldon. That's another guy.
And they also traded for Carlos Hyde.
Right, and they just got Carlos Hyde, but yeah, inactive this week. Really, it's been just a rough couple weeks for Jacksonville. I don't really know what to say about it. I think this will kind of light a fire under Blake Bortles. It should. Even Coach Marone came out and said after the game he's pissed, and he should be. Which he should be. He really needs to be. He needs to get that fire lit, and he needs to start playing. because nothing's going to turn around until he does, and that sucks to say because he usually turns it around when his defense does. But he's going to have to start playing in a hurry.
If he doesn't start playing in a hurry, he's going to be looking for a new job pretty quick. Gavin, New England coming into the Monsters of the Midway in Chicago this weekend. Pats took it home 38-31. The defense kind of shaky, but it's also Tom Brady. As much as me and you don't like Tom Brady, we still have to respect Tom Brady and what he does. And I'm going to respect the Bears as this. I kind of figured we weren't going to win this game, but I figured it was going to be a little bit of a larger margin than what it actually was, a touchdown. So that being said, I was very impressed with how the Bears played Sunday afternoon, including our quarterback. I think he's finally found it. He's found it with his arm a couple weeks ago against Tampa Bay, and now he's found it with his legs. What do you think?
Yeah, you're not wrong. 414 total yards for Mitchell Trubisky on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Total 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. Which that one on the ground, I tell you what, that's one of the best plays I've seen from him all season.
Well, you talking about the 65-yarder? The 8-yarder that turned into like a 70-yarder when he ran completely all the way back.
And they were chasing him over by like the 25, and then he did a little loop-de-loop and came back the other side, and there was nobody there.
Yep.
Walked into the end zone. Yeah, it was a great play from him. Overall, 26 of 50 through the air for 333 yards. Felt like that was pretty low completion percentage against the Patriots defense, whose secondary is not very good to say the least this season. And congratulations for them for getting 2 picks yesterday. Although the one, I believe that ball hit the ground on the first one, not the helmet catch, but the first one.
The first pick, yeah. There's an argument.
Definitely thought that hit the ground, but that's neither here nor there. What I want to talk about is the very end of the game and what it came down to ultimately with the 55-yard, 54-yard completion to Kevin White. They got stopped at the 1-yard line. Man, what a heck of a throw by Mitch. You think if he throws that ball just 1 more yard further.
It'd have been a heck of a lot cooler throw if he threw it about another yard.
Yeah, Kevin White gets that touchdown, especially Kevin White of all guys. I mean, heck of a play for him to even come down with that ball in triple, quadruple coverage, you know.
I thought they still had that guy in Waterboy pads. I'm glad to see him on the field.
Yeah, finally glad to see him do something.
Yeah, Mitch unloaded that pass, though.
Yeah, he sure did.
He unloaded.
Yeah, that was a good 65-yard toss, and really, really impressive. I
So
really
at least
think
he does have that.
Yeah, he does, and I'm really happy to see that they went for it. I think Matt Nagy these past couple weeks,
Yes.
especially in Miami, man, he's been really aggressive. Whether it's worked, whether it's not, I like to see that from a head coach because the Bears haven't had that since, all the way back in the '80s. So,
Yes.
it's great to see. Overall, I thought it was a great performance from them. A guy that I would need to give some credit to here is Trey Burton, 9 receptions for 126 yards and a touchdown.
He doesn't get enough love and appreciation. He is Mitch's top guy, and you can see it.
Mm-hmm. A guy that we thought, and Allen Robinson would be up near the top of the list. Trey Burton has emerged as the top receiver, or tight end rather, for the Bears this season. I think he's got a total of 4 touchdowns now. He's his favorite target, not even in the red zone, just all over the field.
Yep.
So, congratulations to him as well. He had a heck of a game.
Well, this game's drastically different, too, if Cordarrelle Patterson doesn't take a kickoff 95 yards.
Yeah, that was also a defining factor.
Or if Kyle Van Noy doesn't return that block punt for 29 yards.
Which I also thought was roughing the kicker, but...
It can't be roughing if you touch the ball, which sucks.
Yeah.
But, yes. But they win by a touchdown if they don't get those 2 special team scores. So really, they beat New England minus a couple wonky plays on special teams that just kind of sucked. And they still came back from it. By the time the kickoff return happened, they were down. They were still up 3, but by half they went down 4. Came back from that, took the lead. By the time they got that blocked punt, they were down a touchdown again. They came back from that, tied it up. It just kind of sucks, but just a couple things didn't go their way again, just like last week. It's a game of a couple plays at this point now. They're just trying to get on the right side of those plays now.
Yeah, they're right there.
They're there. There's so much. They're there, man.
I just love that they're being competitive.
Yes.
And all these people that said that, the Bears, they could win 9, possibly 10 games this year. You can see why. They've been in it. And that's what's I've been most appreciative of this year.
Last year, this game would have been completely different.
Oh, yeah. Would have lost by 20 points, no question.
If not more.
Yep.
So the Bears put on a pretty good performance. Tyson, your Cowboy.
Speaking of being in it, before we move on to that game, because I'm still a little bitter, being in it, the Browns again, in it.
Another overtime game, yeah.
4th overtime game of the year, and they lose on a 59-yard field goal.
And Baker's face said it all.
That just sucks, man. There's nothing they can do about that. That's a hell of a kick. But
the thing with
Browns are still there.
They need to just keep Baker. They need to keep Baker, keep doing what they're doing, because they will get there. They have the pieces. They're like Chicago, honestly. They have the pieces now. I think that Chicago could run all over Cleveland.
Well, I just think that overall defense is better than
absolutely, that's what I'm
the
saying.
receiver core. I think Baker right now could be better than Mitch. I mean, I haven't seen enough from him. I think you could put them on the same level, maybe.
He's a Heisman winner. He's got
Right.
that.
So it would be a very interesting matchup. I wish they played each other this
Two
season.
young QBs, two young guns who can sling it going
Yeah.
at each other. That'd be. But the Browns have it. It's right there. But Tyson, let's get your favorite team. The Dallas Cowboys took on the Washington Redskins in Washington. It was at Washington. Yeah.
It was in
Yeah,
Washington.
at FedEx Field.
Was it? It's actually in Maryland, isn't it?
Landover, Maryland.
So that's
Just up the road from D.C.
For sure. So it was kind of a weird game to me, honestly. Very competitive, very highly competitive. I really enjoyed watching it. Dak took a massive hit early. I didn't think he was going to be able to come back, especially when they went in the tent. That shows you how much mental toughness he has. What'd you think?
Well, I thought Dak. I don't think the hit played a factor on his game. They concussion protocol tested him. He came out. He was fine. He played really well after that. Still, minus the fumble touchdown in the fourth that put us down 20-10. But I don't have a problem with his play throughout the game. I just wish that it was all like how they played in the final 3 minutes.
Yep.
They drove the field 90 yards and scored a touchdown. They drove the field another 40 yards again after they got the ball back. Got an incredible stop on defense with a minute 30 on the clock. Drove the ball another 30, 40 yards and were able to get set up for a field goal. My one question again is management by Jason Garrett. A couple weeks ago against Houston in overtime, they didn't go for it on 4th and 1. Around the 50-yard line. This week they've got 17 seconds, or no, 12. They've got 12 seconds left, first down, and they run it for 2 yards and fall to the ground. Wait till 3 seconds to call a timeout. You've got one timeout remaining. You got 12 seconds. Why not take a shot at the end zone from 30, 40 yards out? Why not try and move the ball down the field? You still got that timeout. It doesn't matter what you do from there. You still got time for another play besides just running the clock out and trying to get set up for a 47-yard field goal. You don't even want to try and get 5 more yards, 10 more?
Just to set it up for your kicker, make it a little more
Right.
comfortable.
Just make it a little bit easier for him. I don't see a problem with that, but apparently Jason Garrett did, so I have a little bit of a question there. And the other thing, again, is I'm pretty sure we got hosed again. Dak caught it. 3 years later, they came out and said it. LP Laddiser, if you watch the snap that they called the snap infraction on,
Yeah, what is that?
and you watch, so a snap infraction is if you move the ball quickly or not regularly, that could draw the defense offside.
Okay.
If you watch that snap, and you watch every other snap from the 7 years that he's been in the league, he does the exact same thing with the ball every time. He did it on the following snap from 52 yards instead of 47 yards, and it wasn't. I don't understand. The league came out and defended it, and they literally put out the definition of a snap infraction to try and back up the referees, but From 52 yards, that kick hits the upright. From 47 yards, it sneaks inside. From 42 yards, when they should have called an encroachment on the defense, it goes right down the middle.
Yep.
I don't understand. Got hosed, but then again, I can't blame it all on one play because they should have played like they did in the final 3 minutes all game. Not bad play calling again. I'm putting it on Scott Linehan. Went back to his old play calling ways instead of like he called last week.
Good news, though. You guys just unloaded a first rounder for Amari Cooper. So what's that going to do for you guys? So far?
6'4", 220 pounds, hailing from Rock Bottom, Loserville, Nothing Town. That's a song. I'm sorry, but he is 6'4" and about 220. Big dude. He replaces Dez. I'm not going to say in all the same ways that Dez did. He ain't going to be out there throwing up the X, which I wish he would because that'd be really cool. But Cole Beasley is a phenomenal wide receiver. We've seen that in what he's been able to do the last 2 weeks, being the number one guy at 5'8" and 170 pounds. When you've got a guy that's 6'4" and 220 pounds to line up wherever else he wants on the field, you have to double team that guy. There's no options about it. If you don't double team Julio Jones, you get burned. If you don't double team AJ Green, you get burned. We saw that in the first half of the Bengals game. AJ Green had a phenomenal first half, even though they went into halftime down 24-7. If you don't double team these huge guys, 6'4", 6'5", 6'3", these guys that are 6 inches taller than your cornerbacks, you don't have a chance. And when you double team that guy, that really, really opens up the rest of your team. All this hasn't been about having a number one wide receiver. It's been about having a distraction. And I think Amari Cooper is more than that. He's not just a distraction, but he's a really good one. I don't have a problem dishing out a first-round pick for this. I've been saying we should have taken a receiver with the last 3 first-round picks. So at least they got one with this one.
You got anything to take away from the Amari Cooper?
The Amari Cooper trade in itself, I think the first thing we have to look at is there's a different number 4 passing to him now in the backfield. I think that's going to determine whether or not Amari Cooper fits in or with the Cowboys ultimately. It's an entirely different system than you have Derek Carr as your quarterback and now you have Dak Prescott. So, like Tyson said, I think more often than not, unfortunately, he will probably be a distraction until he learns the playbook. But I think ultimately he could be a very valuable piece to this team, a welcome piece, obviously, ever since Dez Bryant left. One guy that I do want to talk about, though, another wide receiver on this team, is Michael Gallup in that game. 3 receptions for 81 yards. I thought he played phenomenal. Had a couple drops, but I don't think that those were his fault. The ones that he did get, man, that guy's fast.
Yeah.
He is really fast. And now I see why his last name is Gallup, not to put a play on words there, but it's definitely something to watch. One other thing I do want to address is I know we talked about it beforehand, but I wanted Tyson to give his take on what happened there in the end zone when Dak did fumble into the end zone and give up ultimately a 10-point lead before they got the ball back. When I watched that play, man, I know that Dak wanted to make something happen, but I can't help but think to myself, what if he just would have taken the safety? The Cowboys would have come away with a win, especially if they played like they did in the last 3 minutes. But I just want to go ahead and get your take on it, man.
I think he thought he had a little bit more room than he did.
That's what it looked like. That's the only thing I can think of.
Because he went to do the famous Tony Romo spin out, and he saw the goal line. He goes, "Oh shit!" I think he just got a little rattled after that, and then he wasn't expecting to get hit as soon as he did, and one thing just led to another. And Dak's not. He gets hit and he drops the ball a lot. A lot of times they don't lose it, and a lot of times it doesn't go very far, but he does drop the ball a lot. It was just one of those times that it dropped, and he got hit, and he couldn't pick it back up, and one thing just led to another, and it was just all kind of bad. I don't have a problem with him trying to make something happen. If he takes the safety, we still lose by a point. We win by a couple. Sorry,
yeah,
my math was off for a second. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him trying to make something happen. I wish he would have just stepped out of the goal and got tackled on the 1 so we could have punted it. There's a lot of things I wish could have happened, but I don't have a problem with what did happen, him trying to make something happen. I was pissed at the time, I'm not going to lie about that. I was yelling things at my TV I probably shouldn't have. But he's trying to make things happen. He's still young. He's still learning. There's a lot going through his head, especially back there by his own goal line. That's something he doesn't want to happen. And one thing just led to another, and it just kind of did.
We're going to move on here, boys. Before I turn it over to Gavin in the NBA, I'm going to talk about some Illini basketball updates that happened this weekend. Oscar Tshiebwe. Hang on. Before I start this, we've got 2 positives, or 1 positive and 2 negatives. So we do have a positive.
1 step forward, 2 steps back.
The positive is that our first exhibition game against Illinois Wesleyan is on the 2nd. We are getting closer. 2nd of November. We're right there. I'm excited for college basketball to start up. Okay, first positive. I already led into it. Or negative, excuse me. I'm all over the place. Oscar Tshiebwe. We've been talking about him a lot. He's that 4-star big that can rebound like there's no tomorrow. He can patrol the paint. He's a shot blocker. That being said, he committed to West Virginia. Of all places.
They weren't in his list, were they?
They were not in his top 3 as of I want to say 3 weeks ago.
2 weeks, 3 weeks when we talked about it last. It was Ohio State, us,
And
Oregon.
No, that's
Missouri?
Quincy Gary.
Syracuse,
it was Missouri.
wasn't it?
No, that's Quincy Gary. It's Oregon,
Oh,
Syracuse.
Okay.
It was
us, Ohio State, and Missouri.
So that being said, West Virginia snuck in there in his last 3 weeks and must have said something that he really liked, and he's going to get played.
There's $150,000 instead of $100.
Okay, that's going to segue into something that we're going to talk about later. But anyway, that's not good. We lost out. And the last piece of bad news that I have is this time last year, we had one commit. You guys want to take a guess as to who that was?
Well, I'm guessing based on these notes here that it was Io.
Okay.
But
I would have guessed that anyway.
Yeah, so our recruit last year, our actual hard commit was Io DeSumo. And this year, we have nothing. No hard commits, nobody showing any interest. We have a lot of,
Interest.
Well, I will say interest. We have a lot of top-tier guys narrowing it down, but we just can't get them to come here. So it goes back to we need to win some games this season. That's all I got on that. But I'm going to throw it over to Gavin, NBA. This is going to get pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, before we get to ultimately the most interesting topic that me and Cale are going to get into, maybe Tyson will give his input, maybe not.
Maybe I will. We'll see.
But the first thing we have to talk about is there's a few tempers flaring during the Houston Rockets and Los Angeles Lakers game. LeBron James's debut for the Los Angeles Lakers. Brandon Ingram pushed James Harden, I believe. Chris Paul came into the picture.
Is that what started it? Was it the push that started everything?
Yeah, okay. I don't think Brandon Ingram was. First of all, he wasn't happy about the foul call. Second of all, he wasn't happy about James Harden taunting him. And begging the official for, I don't know, something. He was making some kind of gesture, but ultimately Chris Paul came in to defend James Harden, of all people. Chris Paul coming up to Brandon Ingram. But then Rondo stepped in, and then you have Rondo and CP3 bad blood there. They went at it. Punches were thrown. Brandon Ingram came in and threw a haymaker. That was a sucker punch. And ultimately he didn't connect very, very hard, or if any at all.
You know who connected? Rondo.
Yeah, he did.
He popped Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny.
He absolutely did.
Chris Paul came away from him. He spit on me.
Well, Chris Paul has.
He also just punched you in your mouth too.
Yeah. Well, hey, don't get it twisted. Chris Paul got his money's worth as well when he went back at Rondo.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. They both landed.
But as of October 22nd, the Los Angeles Lakers are 0-2. Not the way that we envisioned them starting the season. Hopefully get at least their first win tonight. But they're going to be without Rajon Rondo, and they're going to be without Brandon Ingram.
At least the weed man gets to play.
Yeah. Alonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma will start tonight for them. Rondo's suspended 4 games. Brandon Ingram suspended 3 games. Switch those. Rondo suspended 3. Brandon Ingram suspended 4. Chris Paul also has a 2-game suspension. Which the Rockets need him because they have only won 1 game this year.
They got thumped. Sorry.
Well, they did. We'll get into that here in a second. But yeah, the Lakers. This is not a good start for them, especially without their starting point guard for the next 3 games, and then Brandon Ingram. They're starting 4, I believe, and he'll be gone for the next 4 games. So yeah, not looking good for LeBron James. He's gonna have to carry an even bigger load than he's used to. What do you guys?
My fantasy team's destroyed.
Well,
mine is kicking butts.
Well, I'm gonna say I got Rondo as my starting point guard. Because he's an assist machine and he's a shot creator. So that's why I've got Rondo. So there goes my assist machine. But that being said, I feel like Ingram getting 4 games is a little heavy. I also agree. I know that he threw that sucker punch. That's why he has the 4 games. If he wouldn't have came in and thrown them that last haymaker, he wouldn't have got 4 games. He probably would have got 3 with Rondo. What I don't agree with is Chris Paul getting 2. You're going to give Rondo 3, Ingram 4, and give CP3 2? I mean, come on, make it fair.
Well,
I thought they were all getting suspended a lot longer than that.
That's another thing, too.
I thought they were all getting 8-10 games.
Yes, but you're going to give Chris Paul, who had just as much I don't know how to word that. He was just as involved as everybody else.
He was, but he also didn't throw the first punch, so I don't think his punishment should have been as severe. But I understand if you throw the punch, you should be punished just like everyone else.
Enough.
In high school, if you throw a punch, you get suspended 3 days. If you throw the second punch and defend yourself, you get 3 days. It doesn't matter if you threw the first punch, you threw the second punch, you threw the 14th punch. You're fighting. I don't think it matters. I think it all should have been uniform.
Well, back in 1982, you also didn't get suspended for fighting at all. So I mean,
yeah, but this is 2018 and 1982.
Going off of that all the suspensions, because honestly, I'm kind of a fan of it. I like seeing that stuff. It's kind of fun. It's kind of
I did too.
Brings a little flavor.
The
Yeah.
basketball world doesn't.
So anyhow, going off of that, they still have LeBron James, man.
They do.
I mean, they're 0-2. I know that. But look what he did last year with the Cavs. The Cavs were worse than what he's got now.
Yeah,
honestly.
no, I'm not saying
So
that.
I'm not
but
that concerned about the Lakers, to be honest.
I'm only concerned for the next 4 games where they're without their starters. But going forward, what I don't want to see is the Lakers start off 0-6, because that's a little bit of a hole to dig yourself out of in the Western Conference. So we'll have to see if they're able to bounce back. But speaking of actually, not speaking of anything, it's completely different. We're jumping over to the Eastern Conference. Trae Young was the first rookie this season to score 30 or more points. He dropped 35 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have the worst defense in the NBA as of the first 3 games of the season. That should surprise you. But man, yeah, I didn't see it coming. I knew Trae Young's hot and cold. I just didn't see him getting this hot this early. I expect this to be a roller coaster of a ride, especially with him and this Hawks team. The Hawks are actually 2-1 right now in the East.
Really?
Yeah, didn't expect them to have a winning record at any point in this season, but good for them. And hey, 30 points is 30 points. DeAndre Ayton, I think, had 26 or 28. It was pretty close, but that's a stat.
So the thing about Trae Young is that he's going to shoot. He's going to shoot, and like you said, whether he's on, he's on. If he's off, he is way off. But going off of his flashes at Oklahoma, though, you got to remember that. I mean, he was their lead. He was their only offense they had. But that's also because he shot the ball 750,000 times a game. But he doesn't have much help in Atlanta either. Besides Taurean Prince still down there, and who else?
Taurean Prince, John Collins, and Dennis Schroeder's gone now. I think they drafted Herter from Maryland. Not a whole lot. I really could. I think Bazemore is a starting small forward right now, and Vince Carter is there as well.
So Vince Carter, I like Vince Carter.
Yeah, I do too.
He's retired, but no, you got Trae Young, who's going to put up a minimum. I'm going to say this season probably of about 400 threes. I mean, I'm reaching. I understand that, but
I wouldn't be surprised if he approaches the 300 mark. I mean, he will shoot a lot.
I mean, if he's hot, let him.
Yeah, well,
but if he's cold, you're like, what are you doing, man?
If you're Atlanta, I think you just let him shoot just to shoot. I mean, you need to bring in fans. So if he can hit a 40-foot shot, why not just let it fly?
Yeah.
So that's what we said earlier in the season. I think everyone jumped down his throat too quickly. Said, "Oh, this guy can't shoot. He's terrible. He's going to be the next Rajon Rondo. He needs to learn how to pass." I think we said just give it a little bit of time. He'll settle down once they actually start playing. Things get back to normal. His shot's going to come back. It's not going to be a big issue. It was during the summer league. No one really cares about the summer league. He was a top 20 pick, but top 10 pick. Just give him a chance. Let him cool down. And we saw it this game. He's the first one to put up over 30.
Summer league's cool, man.
I'm not disagreeing. I like the summer league, but
I will say that the NBA preseason is a lot more entertaining to watch than over half of the preseasons of pro sports.
Yeah, I can.
Besides
I
spring
would hope you
training,
with that, but well.
But see, the preseason in the NBA, there's something to it as well as spring training. They play for championships. You know what I mean? Just like I don't know. It's just a whole different atmosphere.
Yeah. All right, let's move along here. We got a couple more teams to get to before we move on to the NHL. The Toronto Raptors, my Toronto Raptors, started off the season 3-0 with Kawhi Leonard. They defeated the Washington Wizards a couple nights ago, 117-113, without Kawhi Leonard in the lineup. He was on rest for back-to-back. This has been very impressive to me, ultimately, because Kawhi is the superstar, and Kyle Lowry has essentially put the team on his back that game. I think he had 6 3-pointers, 27 points, 28 points, I can't remember. Also had 8 assists in that game as well. He's looking in all-star form like he has been the last 3 years. I'm very excited for this team, but I wanted to get your guys' take on it because I know Cale had the Boston Celtics, which the Raptors beat by 9 points on Friday last week.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I want to get your take on Toronto.
So Toronto was really impressed me. Now, don't get me wrong, I knew they were going to.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember too, Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving have been absolutely absent so far. For game one, Hayward had about a 2 or 3 minute stretch in the third quarter where he looked like the old Gordon Hayward. Kyrie Irving in that game was 2 for 14, I believe, or is it 2 for
That was
14 or 2 for 11? It was opening night against
Yeah,
Philly.
the first game.
So and I still don't think they found their groove yet, have they? It's been Jaylen Brown, Scary Terry, and Horford and
Jason Tatum.
So
Jason Tatum's actually looked really good.
I want to talk about the Raptors in a second, but as soon as those guys find their rhythm, it's going to be a completely different story, which is going to give the Raptors competition. Right now, Kawhi Leonard, he don't need no time because he's just ready to go whenever, and I know that. He's one of the better he's a top 5 player in the league, all around. But once that's going to be the Raptors' only competition, because I'm going to rescind my Philadelphia pick at number 2 and put Toronto there, because Philly just looks terrible. They said Ben Simmons worked on an outside shot. Well, I haven't seen it. Joel Embiid got postered by Tatum the other night. And Jason Tatum's our size. Joel Embiid's 7 foot, 200. Yeah, he's huge.
Jason Tatum's 6'8",
but you know,
he's not a 7-footer.
He postered Joel Embiid with 2 hands, no less.
Let me sit on your face real quick.
Yeah.
Yes. So that being said, Philly has not got it. They need some outside shooting fast. They need the help. Robbie Covington ain't it either.
Well, the problem is they think that J.J. Redick can replace Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova and still keep the production of himself.
Saric, how do you pronounce his name?
Dario Saric.
Yeah, he was absent too. He looks terrible. And he was the guy who did put up in one of the games of the finals against Boston. He did put up 30 or 35, correct?
The semifinals, yeah, he had a 30-point game. Yeah.
So that being said, Philadelphia is now being replaced by Toronto on my list, but I still have Indiana at number 3, who's looking good. They're distributing the ball. Not one player had 20 points, but that's fine because we had multiple players with 15 to 18 or 19. I like that a lot.
Tyreek Evans looks really
good. Miles Turner looks good. Sabonis coming off of the bench is good. He's got that role figured out. That's his.
Of course, Victor. But
Vic is just Vic.
But what I'm saying is Tyreek Evans going to the Pacers, this makes this team very, very competitive in the East.
They could give you guys some trouble as well later in the year.
Yeah, so they could give any team, I think, difficulties. I don't think that they could give Golden State any, although they did just lose to Denver. Now, I know you guys weren't very high on Denver being like a top 5 seed in the West, but I had them there. And I really like this Denver team, especially they kept Golden State under 100 points. Yes. Granted, it was 98, but you keep a team like that under 100 points.
You keep any team under 100, that's insane. You keep the Golden State Warriors under 100, you should get a trophy just for that.
Yeah. All right, but real quick, we need to move on to one more game here. Staying in the Western Conference, speaking of Golden State, they played them in the semifinals and got swept. I'm sorry, they did win one game. The New Orleans Pelicans, they're very, 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 very hot right now. They're averaging 140 points per game to start the season. Anthony Davis looks like he's in postseason form already. Yes, he is on Cale's fantasy team. But a question I have for both of you is Anthony Davis on pace, or could he possibly be on pace to win the MVP at the end of the year?
If he's not in the race, then this league is fragmented somehow, because he is one of the best players in that conference. He's one of the best players in the league. He's probably number 3. So that being said, Anthony Davis can single-handedly carry this team, and he did that against Houston the other night. Although he does have Etuan Moore, what's the guy?
Don't forget
Drew Holiday.
Drew
Holiday can shoot too.
And let's not forget Nikola
Mirotic, who had 30 in the first game and 36 in the second game. So he's actually outscored Anthony Davis so far.
You got all them guys. And then you got AD on top of that, who is also, in my opinion, and that ain't going to happen.
A lot of these players ex-Bulls, just to throw that out there.
It's working. But no, Anthony Davis, to answer your question, will he be in the race? Yes, he will be in contention, in my opinion.
I don't think there's a doubt. He'll definitely be in conversations for the MVP this year, especially if he can take New Orleans to a number 1, number 2 seed.
I got him at Oladipo. So, I mean, those are my 2 guys to win it this season. You can disagree with me on that.
I mean, if that's like me saying Leonard could win MVP. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand. I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, Defensive Player of the Year is a different story. I still think that he's very capable of winning that award.
Besides Jimmy Butler, he's the only one that plays defense in the entire league.
Well, I think Rudy Gobert, what he did last year and averaging over 3 blocks a game, I think that is very impressive, and that's why he won it. I think if Draymond Green wants to have another season like he did in 2017, he could win it again, possibly. I don't like him, but he could win it. And then I think Anthony Davis, I really do think he averages over 1.5 steals, over 2 blocks. I think you have to look at that. I think if the Pelicans did a little bit better last season, then he could have won the award. But the Jazz, I think, just edged out New Orleans in their series with the Rockets rather than the Pelicans did with Golden State. But, Cale, I'm going to hand it back over to you. We need to talk about the NHL.
We're not going to talk about that big debate we had earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Leave it? That's fine. We can leave it.
I'll tell you what. We could talk about that on Friday because we've been going for a while right now.
So
Let's go ahead.
Friday then. That way I can get everything, my research done. And
Yeah, me as well.
I'm still not going to change my mind. But anyway, the NHL, Tampa Bay set an NHL record for most shots on goal. And it happened against the Chicago Blackhawks. Go figure. But Cam Ward was in the net. So that's why we lost 6-2. That being said, Tampa Bay is another team that I had higher on my radar, but not this high. They're good. Ben Bishop is a stud. He always has been, even though me and Tyson really don't like him. But that's pretty remarkable. 33 shots on goal in one period. That's 20 minutes. They had 33 in one period.
That's a really good game, 33 shots on goal.
Yes. And they did.
Average is probably 29, 30. That's a really good game, 33, let alone for a period.
Moving off of that, Pekka Rinne, bad news for the Preds. He's on the injured reserve list. They don't know a timetable yet. If you're on the reserve and not the DL, he's hopeful. He's not going to play this week, I don't think. He is their best goaltender they have, and they probably will have for a while.
No, I thought it was the other way. I thought IR was really bad.
I thought DL was worse.
No, I thought because DL players can come back off the DL.
That's right. You're right.
Injured reserve, you're basically done for at least a couple months.
All I know is it's something with his knee. I think he had a stick or something jammed up under his knee when he was down in a full split. It just looked horrendous. And as you know, with all those pads that goaltenders wear, they don't move, they don't flex very well. So when you need to bend and those pads don't, it's just bad news. Nikita Kucherov, he was showing some flashes of Sid Crosby, Sid the Kid from Pittsburgh, the other night in that Blackhawks game. Nikita Kucherov's young, he's talented, he's fast. I put him up there. He's not talked about because he's on Tampa Bay. But I put him up there with Connor McDavid and Matthews, especially because he's got that sick backhand shot that Sidney Crosby has. That backhand, you know what it looks like. That's a hard shot to make, and he just does it so well and effectively while moving out the ice at 300 mile an hour because he skates so quick. Also, something that has baffled me completely, the last topic I have for today, is the Kings. The Los Angeles Kings held a closed-door meeting after 4 straight losses. That I cannot get over. This is not LA Kings hockey. Something's going on in that locker room, or they're just not clicking. I don't have an explanation as to what's going on really, but it's got to be the locker room. New coach, new system, old guys.
New team, who dis?
Yes, it's a new team, who dis? Old guys. They need that meeting. Get the captains and the assistants in there saying, what the hell's going on here, boys? We got to win some games. They're not moving the puck very well. D-to-D passes are non-existent on that team. So, I don't know. It's not looking good for the LA Kings.
After the first couple of weeks, the only 2 teams statistically worse than them would be the Red Wings and the Coyotes.
And the Coyotes beat the Blackhawks 4-1 the other night.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that.
No, we're not going to talk about that right now.
But who just said Detroit?
Detroit Red Wings and the Arizona Coyotes.
And
Detroit,
Detroit
the
I
only 2
can
teams.
see, but man, that's really surprising because less than 3 years ago they were giving the Hawks problems in that Cup run all season because they're in our division, so we play them twice or 3 times, obviously. But
statistically, Detroit is the worst team.
The Blackhawks and the Kings used to fight for the Western Division almost every year.
Every year.
And that has drastically changed in the last 2 years. I know it's only 4 games, but LA's coming out struggling so far. They look like they might have caught a bad case of the Blues like the Blackhawks did last season.
I want to talk about one more thing that I heard on NHL radio this morning was that the Nashville Predators raised a banner at their first home game this season for regular season champions. Okay, Nashville, keep in mind, Nashville is not a hockey city. Right?
They haven't won anything.
And they haven't won a cup, but they've made a cup run. But you're going to put that in the rafters? Now, I know you probably need something to hang in the rafters, but that ain't it, Chief. That ain't it.
We are the world's tallest midget.
They're the regular season champions. Does that make any sense?
I think for any sports organization, that's a cry for attention. Like, you want to be validated for something that doesn't count unless you win the cup.
So that's like, what was it?
But I am going to counter with you here, Cale. The MLB gets a pennant for winning their division.
Right.
Even if you don't win the World Series.
Right.
If you win the division, that's
but
fine.
They won the division. Nashville didn't win anything last year. They just went to the.
They were the regular season champions. What do you mean they didn't win?
You don't get a trophy for winning the most games. You get a trophy for winning your division.
Bro, they got bounced in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no.
You get a trophy in the MLB for winning your division.
Yeah, we're not talking about the division. It's just regular season.
I understand what you're coming from. I get it. I know. It's just that they don't.
I agree. I think it's dumb.
It's just how it's worded.
But I'm just trying to put up an argument here because an MLB gives the banner for the same exact thing.
I know that. I understand. It's just how it's worded is what gets me. Is regular season champions.
Why not just write division?
Right? Yeah. What? I'm so confused.
Every other sport writes division champion on their flag, banner, pennant, whatever.
A couple years ago, the Colts put one up that said AFC runner-up or something like that. It was all weird.
That's
AFC
runner-up
runner-up or something. I don't know.
That's ridiculous. Well, for making it to the championship game?
Yeah.
Not the Super Bowl, for making it to the championship game.
AFC runner-up.
So they want a banner for fourth place? That's what they want?
That's like
unbelievable.
The high school football team.
Unbelievable. Wow.
I'm hurting.
You know what? Let's just move on. Speaking of baseball, the World Series is here. We can talk about that. The LA Dodgers took down the Milwaukee Brewers in 7 games. I called that one, boys. I can say that for sure.
Yeah, you did.
The Boston Red Sox beat the Houston Astros. What was it, 4-1, right? So
Yep,
I was one game off of that. I think who called that one?
I called that 4-1.
I think you both.
All did.
I said it in 6.
I had it in 5.
I had it in 6. So
it was Boston in 5.
Yeah.
4-1.
6. Sorry, 6.
yeah, so we had 6. Tyson
Leave
had
me
5.
alone, man.
But anyway, the two teams that I thought would be there are there. One of your guys' teams you thought would be there is there. Ultimately, who are you guys taking?
Red Sox in 4.
My pick isn't changing. Red Sox still.
I hope they get swept in 4.
I know you're hopeful, but I mean, is that your realistic expectations for this squad?
It's not going to go 7 games.
But will it go 4?
We saw the defending champion Houston Astros
No, that's what I'm asking. Will it be over in 4?
not really even put up a fight against these Red Sox.
Thanks for keeping me honest. I mean, you know what I'm doing here.
I know.
I'm biased.
I know you are.
But no, it's not going to go more than 4. I can tell you that because this Dodgers offense and pitching staff is better than a 4-game sweep. But man, that'd make me real happy for a 4-game sweep. I see 5, maybe 6. It all depends on what Kershaw is going to show up. If we get playoff Clayton Kershaw, by golly, they're hosed. I can tell you that right now because I haven't talked about this yet on here. I talk about this with everybody. Clayton Kershaw claims he's one of the best pitchers in the National League. All right,
He is.
fair,
That's
fair. Best pitcher in the National League with no rings. And I'm going to leave that there.
Well, fair enough.
He cannot claim him as being one of the, I know Max Scherzer doesn't either. But Max Scherzer, look at how many Cy Youngs he has. And look at, if he wasn't on that trash organization, he would be in the playoffs. His front office is messing that up for him. But Clayton Kershaw claims he's the top pitcher in the National League that has gone to the World Series, 3 times now? Twice now? In the last 5 years, has won nothing. Absolutely nothing to show for it.
Well, they have 2 National League pennants. I mean, that's not a World Series trophy, but it's something.
It is something. I can't disagree with you on that. Yes, it's there. That is a huge accomplishment because the National League, as we stated all year, is the hardest league in the MLB.
And my team being in the American League, I agree that the National League has more competition, more talent. I can admit that.
This season, all we had in the American League was Boston, Houston, the Yankees.
I
The
think we're
Athletics,
about 30 games in, 90% of the world knew Boston was going to be in this World Series.
That's the thing, is that nobody's called it this fast in a long time. 30 games in, everybody knew that Boston had it. Because they were on already like a 19-game heater or something like that, 30 games in. They lost their first series, and then they just exploded. But no, Clayton Kershaw, I really just cannot stand that guy making the comments about himself and stating with no rings to show for it. Yes, Gavin, I agree with you 100%. He's got all of the National League pennants. He's got 3 of them. So that being said, now if he wants to claim himself as the best starter pitcher, the best ace in the National League, I need to see a championship ring, boy. That's what I need to see.
I think the Red Sox just destroyed a defending champion Houston Astros team, 103 win Houston Astros teams in 5 games. I don't foresee the Dodgers making it any further than that. I give it to Boston again, 4-1. That's all I got to say about it. It's not how well or how bad LA's played, how good or how bad Kershaw is. It's strictly about how good this Boston team is.
Yes, you can't deny that.
No, I can't, which is why I think that I'm still going to go with 5. Just because I think that
A little mercy.
I think a
Dodgers
Dodgers team beat a Milwaukee Brewers squad that I think ultimately had more talent and was hotter. But I think that Boston taking out the Astros in 5. I mean, that just kind of sets it in cement. You know,
it's going to be a fun World Series, I think, especially when the Dodgers lose.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking once they go to L.A. after Boston's up 2-0, I think they'll get 1.
Yeah, they still got to play in L.A. 3 times.
Right.
If necessary, they got to play there 3 times.
All right, so I think we're all unanimous here.
Boston.
4-1. Boston on top.
Except for my 4-game sweep.
Your 4-game sweep, yeah. Hopefully Cale gets his wish. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here today. If you like what you heard, make sure to go ahead and leave us a like, comment, whatever you like there in the bottom box below. Also, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button so you guys never miss a beat while hitting that bell icon to the right of that big red subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media page on Twitter at sports_twin. With that said, my name is Gavin Campbell. That was Tyson Snyder, Cale Fleming. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Based upon the view, you can't have too much trouble. So why can't we do it? Everybody's doing it. Let's start the fireworks, stand back and enjoy it. Oh.